Welcome to Food Craftsmen. I'm Ryan Parker. In today's episode, the story of the braise. Tough cuts of meat, or secondary cuts, were the food of peasants long ago. For years, grandmothers braised meats like pot roast to serve to the family.
I guess my love for braising really began with my grandma's pot roast. It was simple as can be, just this chunk of chuck roast and salt and pepper, and she'd plonk it in this old dented roasting pan she had and pour in a little water and shove it in her oven and forget about it for all I knew.
Home cooks stumble over the process until finally they unlock the secrets of time, temperature, patience, and skill.
Lately, I think my appreciation for braising relates more to the actual technique itself than what results. And I guess what I mean is braising's propensity to kind of keep me guessing. Like I never know exactly when my chuck roast or my ribs or shank are going to be done.
Braising is a cooking method that transforms tough cuts of meat into tender, delicious meals.
You know, when I think back to culinary school, braising is just absolutely the combination of so many different things and really brings out all the elements of flavor.
Braising relies on a combination of two cooking techniques, dry heat cooking and moist heat cooking. We use the dry heat cooking method to sear the exterior of the meat, causing the browning of proteins known as the Maillard reaction. Then we apply moist heat to break down the collagen, which tenderizes it.
You have oil breaking down all the herbs, the aromatics. You've got the caramelization of tomato paste, caramelization of meat, and you combine so many different layers of flavor in just a slow, incredibly beautiful process, and you get this awesome product at the end.
When I first met my fiance, Mikey, the first time I cooked for her, I prepared red wine braised short ribs, sauteed Brussels sprouts, and potato puree. The short ribs were glazed with the reduction of the cooking liquid, blended with red wine and fresh herbs. The braised short ribs are tender, juicy, and full of flavor. The sauce is like velvet in your mouth.
But it was always perfectly tender and incredibly beefy, and I came to rely on that and expect that, just as I kind of came to rely and expect my grandma's calm demeanor and her endless patience and her floral, floppy house coat.
In a small oven-proof pan, with a little bit of oil and whole butter, brown your meat evenly on all sides. A nice, dark sear. Once your meat is browned, add enough cooking liquid to surround the meat about 3/4 of the way up. The cooking liquid can be an appropriate stock, water, and or wine. If you choose to use wine, reduce the wine in the pan until it has halved its starting volume. At that point, add stock and bring to a simmer. One important note is to use a pan that is only slightly bigger than the meat you are braising. Having a pan this size keeps you from using lots of liquid. Transfer the pan to the oven set at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. The liquid should be bubbling gently, but not at a boil. Depending on the size of the cut of the meat, you'll need to cook it for 3 or even 4 hours, or until the meat has become tender and falls off the bone, if there is one.
And they keep tough and tough and tough and tough for seemingly an eternity. And then just when I've all but lost hope of it ever turning out the way I'd expected, suddenly it's perfectly tender. You know, it's kind of like as soon as you let go of your expectations, everything falls into place. Sort of like life.
It is important to get your meat between the temperatures of 160 degrees Fahrenheit and 180 degrees. At 160 degrees, the collagen begins to break down and transform into gelatin. The process speeds up as you reach about 180 degrees. Going above this temperature can result in dry meat, and no one wants that. Cool the meat in the cooking liquid. This allows the braised meat to soak up some of that liquid and develop more flavor. The next day, gently reheat the braise until it is warmed through. Pour off most of the liquid through a chinois into a new saucepan. Reduce the cooking liquid until it's thickened. The gelatin created by the long, slow cooking process will produce a sticky, rich, and velvety sauce.
One of my favorite things to do in the fall is to braise beef, braise pork. One of the best ways to cook, in my opinion. Low and slow is truly, truly the key to the art.
Finish the sauce with fresh herbs and a touch of cold butter. Swirl the butter into the sauce until it is completely emulsified. Glaze the ribs by spooning the cooking liquid that remains in the pan over the meat. The cooking liquid will thicken and the meat will look lacquered. Place the meat onto a platter and spoon the sauce over the meat. Which meats should you braise? Think of it this way. Any parts of an animal which are working muscles are ripe for braising. All of those muscles are full of connective tissue, collagen, and sinew. And if you heat them up properly and you take your time, you're going to get yourself a wonderful braise. Today's episode included clips from Renee Shetler, editor-in-chief of Leit's Culinaria. Renee grew up channeling her grandmother, a relentless clipper and tweaker of recipes, and swooning to the essays in her father's issues of Gourmet, in which she both lost and found herself. And it included Matt Glaser, chef and good friend of Food Craftsmen. Thank you both. If you would like to leave a clip that could be used in our next episode of Food Craftsmen on pork belly, simply go to foodcraftsmen.com/speak. You can leave your 90-second thoughts on the beautiful pork belly there. If you want more, visit foodcraftsmen.com. We have just released our summer kitchen gear guide. You can get your copy of the guide by going to foodcraftsmen.com/gear guide. Remember, food is life and life is great. See you next time on Food Craftsmen. This is Ryan Parker.